Okay, so my first video, I talked about um, deciding to go on this trip to Nigeria. We had found out that my brother-in-law was in a terrible car accident and his wife died, and our hearts really went out to them. And so we decided that we were going to go and we were not going to take our kids. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm so glad I didn't take my kids. My husband, I can't say that he prepared me 100% for what our living was going to be like and the environment that we were going to be in. When we got there, his family told him that a lot had gotten worse since he had left. And like I said, he hadn't been back home probably between 13 and 16 years. He hadn't been home. So a lot had changed. I really feel like a lot of things were bad when he left, but well, they were bad before he left. So I don't think it was a complete shock to my husband, but I can say that my husband did not remember a lot of things, and that was really interesting. And I believe that because it is a tough environment, I think that he blocked a lot of things out. He didn't really want to remember. He just remembered his family. He didn't remember a lot of places. A lot of things came back to him while we were there. Um, but I think he blocked a lot of it out. It was a tough life. It was a tough life for him, and so, anyways, I also want to say that as I'm doing these videos, um, it is my intention just to share the story specifically for my friends and family so that they can hear an account of what happened, because a lot of them have been asking, what did you do? What did you see? And all that stuff. And I've posted some things on Facebook, but I thought that this would be even more informational um, to hear me talking about it. Because when I share this story with people, sometimes it feels like a movie to me. It doesn't feel like it really happened. It feels like I read this book or I watched this movie. And so I was just telling a friend of mine about it a couple hours ago. And as I'm telling her stuff, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, so much happened in those 10 days that I was there. Um, on top of my husband, he was there for a month. And so I really need to start, I need to start accounting for what happened so that we don't forget and so that other people can learn from it too. And so, anyways, it is not my intention to offend anybody, especially Nigerians or Africans. I am just giving my account of what I experienced there, and I will give my opinion on the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like. But um, it is not my intention to offend. I'm more like reporting what I experienced firsthand, and so um, it's very interesting. It's very interesting what I learned and experienced. So anyway, so we finally decide to go, and we buy the tickets probably 2 or 3 days before we left. Everything was really fast. Preparing my home. I really wanted my kids to have security of home, even though mommy and daddy were not going to be there and things were going to be different. They loved it though. They loved going to Grammy's house one day and they loved going to Auntie's house the next day. I mean, they wanted to keep up that schedule even when I came back. So they enjoyed it as kids, but I wanted them to have the security of home, the normalcy of being at home, um, sleeping in their own beds, being surrounded by their own toys. Because prior to us deciding that, I mean, I was about to take all their toys to my mom's house and I was going to pack up all their clothes and put them in her closet. I mean, it was going to be huge. I even had to do some heavy grocery shopping to make sure that they had everything that they needed so that they didn't so that my girlfriend wouldn't have to go to the grocery store while we were gone too much, except for things like eggs and milk and juice. So I really didn't want her to have to worry about a lot of things. And generally, when I leave my kids with people, it's already an inconvenience. Even if they want to be with my kids, it's difficult taking care of kids, especially somebody else's kids. And so I I wanted it to be as convenient as possible for my family. I didn't want them to have to do too much extra in taking care of my kids. So anyway, so we start packing. I really did, again, I didn't know what to expect. My husband did not prepare me, and I am the queen of Googling. I Google everything. You know, this past week my daughter had the stomach flu, and I wanted to know if I should take her to the doctor because it was still going on, and I thought it would have ran its course, you know, in the first 2 or 3 days. And so I Googled it, and come to find out, stomach flu, it can last up to 7 days. And so in preparing for this trip, I just started Googling Nigeria. I Googled um, specifically the weather because I had no clue how to pack for this trip. And my husband was saying that it was going to be cold, it was going to be winter time, um, but that was not true. I mean, the humidity was like 75, 80%. Most of the time it wasn't like over 100 degrees, but it was like in the 90s every single day. And with that humidity, it was crazy hot, crazy hot. And in the evening, it was it was cooler, but it was more like the 70s. And so I looked online, and that was really difficult because I saw a lot of images that kind of freaked me out about the country. And so I really had to stay focused on what I was doing and not let those images scare me. And even my husband was like, don't look at the stuff online. Don't look at the stuff online. And so anyway, so we start to pack. Obviously, I packed spray for mosquitoes. I mentioned before I had to go and get shots. There is one particular shot, oh, I can't remember the name of it, um, but it's a shot that they suggest that you take when you're traveling abroad. And we ended up not needing to take it, but when I looked online, it said that this was one that you need to take. Well, that shot had 3 doses, and I think each shot was like $250 or something like that. It on top of what we had to pay for. That was really tough. So I was grateful that we didn't have to take that one. Anyways, I had to go get shots, and literally every single day we were like doing stuff to get ready for this trip, because once we were gone, we were gone. It wasn't like, you know, flying to New York. We still had a connection to the family. It was very hard to communicate to my family once we got there. And so um, when we left, my mother took us to the airport, and it was really hard to say goodbye. My son was at school, so he had the most consistency because he was in school every day. But my little girl was at home, so she was well aware that mommy and daddy were gone every day. And so it was really hard to say goodbye to her, and she cried a lot when we left because kids can sense. Kids can sense when things are wrong. It could be you could be having problems in your marriage. Kids can tell when things aren't right. It could be a death in the family, even if they don't understand. And I explained to my son where we were going and what we were doing. I explained to him that there was a death in the family, and um, he understood it for the most part. But as far as my daughter, she didn't understand anything. But she could sense that mommy and daddy were going to be gone for a long time, and so she was very upset when we left. Anyways, we get to the airport and we check in, and it's just like this very surreal moment of just me and my husband preparing to get on this plane to fly. It ended up being 16 to 18 hours um, of a flight. We flew out of Santa Ana, we flew into Houston, and that was our layover. It wasn't a very long layover, and then it was about 16 hours flight into Lagos, Nigeria. And so it was very surreal to be sitting there after all that we prepared for prior to leaving, and now we're just sitting and waiting to get on this plane, not knowing what we're going to see on the other side. So look forward to the next video.